I stood in my new kitchen, holding a chipped ceramic mug I'd carried since my college days, the kind of mug that feels like an old friend. The morning light poured through bare windows, hitting the hardwood floors in a way that made the house feel alive, like it was breathing with me. For the first time in years, there were no roommates slamming cupboards, no shared fridge humming with someone else's leftovers. Just me, the quiet, and the weight of a dream I'd built dollar by dollar over 13 years. This house 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a modest yard with room for herbs, maybe a lemon tree if I could keep it alive, wasn't just a place. It was mine. No loans, no co-signers, no shortcuts. I'd earned every square foot. But then my phone buzzed, shattering the peace. A text from my dad at 8:03 a.m. "We need to talk about the house. Call me as soon as you can." I thought maybe he wanted to see it, to celebrate what I'd done. Instead, he and my mom told me they wanted to give my house to my sister, Cassie. They said I owed it to the family, that I was selfish for keeping what I'd worked for. A week later, they sued me to take it away. My name is Aubrey Keller. I'm 34 years old. And this is the story of how I fought to keep what was mine and how one question from a judge made everything they built on lies fall apart. Let me take you back to the moment it all began, to the betrayal that cut deeper than I could have imagined. That morning, after my dad's text, I set my mug down and called him. His face appeared on the screen, creased and unreadable. No smile, no warmth. "We've talked it over," he said, "and we think it would be fairer if Cassie had the house." I blinked, the words not quite landing. "What?" "She's drowning in student debt." He went on. "You're doing well. Aubrey, you could easily buy another place." The pressure settled on my chest, dull and heavy. Not a punch, but a slow squeeze. "We raised you," he added, his voice firm. "It's time you give back to the family." I didn't answer right away, just listened to his steady breathing, like he was bracing for a fight, but I didn't argue. Not yet. My mom, Nancy, joined the call, her robe still on, her tone soft but deliberate. "Aubrey, we gave you everything we could, and now we're just asking you to do the same for your sister." I felt my throat tighten. "You didn't give me this house." I said, "No," she admitted, "but we raised you. You wouldn't be where you are without us." The words were smooth, practiced, not cruel, but hollowing, like someone scooping out my chest with a spoon. Then my mom said it. "You're being selfish." That word, selfish, stung more than the rest, as if keeping what I'd earned was a betrayal. My dad leaned in, his face hardening. "You have a moral obligation to this family." I didn't yell. I didn't explain. I hung up, not out of anger, but because I knew if I stayed on that call, I might lose the part of me that still believed in myself. Cassie, my sister, 2 years younger, was always the one who needed rescuing. She had an art history degree, no job, but thousands of followers for her soft girl aesthetic on Instagram. She lived at home, waiting for life to make room for her. And it always did. Late tuition. My parents covered it. Cried during finals. They sent her to Paris for artistic clarity. When she crashed the car they bought her at 16, they gave her another. Me. I took the bus until I was 23. I worked pizza delivery at 16. Bagged groceries, cleaned movie theaters, sorted dead letters at the post office one summer, whatever paid enough to survive. By 18, I was on my own. I didn't go to prom. I was saving for a 1998 Honda with 200,000 miles and a missing rearview mirror. I lived in studio apartments that smelled of bleach and desperation, went to community college, took night classes in coding, then a boot camp, then certifications, one after another. It wasn't magic, it was grind. Meanwhile, Cassie was in Italy finding herself, her tuition, rent, vacations, even her photo shoot clothes paid for by my parents. When I emailed my mom freshman year, asking for $120 for a data structures textbook, she replied that night, "We're focusing our financial support on Cassie right now. Hope you understand." I did. I stopped asking. But even then, I never imagined they'd try to take my house, the one thing I'd built without them, because Cassie needed a foundation. A week after that call, a courier knocked on my door with legal documents. My parents, Peter and Nancy Keller, were suing me. The claim failure to repay familial debt, seeking to transfer my house to Cassie, with me assuming her mortgage payments and paying $289,300 for emotional harm. Apparently, that's what raising me cost. I sat on my bare living room floor, the walls still empty, no pictures hung, and let the silence settle. The house didn't feel like mine anymore. It felt like evidence. They claimed I owed them because I wouldn't be successful without their early investment, as if my life was a portfolio they could manage, as if love came with an invoice. But that's not how I remember it. I'd been working since I was 16, scraping by on tips and instant noodles. When I asked for help, book money, rent, a co-signature, it was always the same. We're prioritizing Cassie's education. I learned to disappear, to be the capable one, the quiet one. The more I succeeded, the more invisible I became. And now, they were suing me because I'd dared to build something they couldn't control. The day after I was served, Cassie posted an Instagram story, a sunlit kitchen with white subway tiles, brass fixtures, herb jars on the windowsill. The caption read, "Can't wait to make this place a home. So grateful to my family for fighting for what's right." It wasn't my kitchen, just a Pinterest image, but the comments poured in. "You deserve it. Babe, a real queen gets her castle." She knew I'd paid the $77,000 down payment from my savings, that I'd slept 4 hours a night for years to make this possible. But to Cassie, my house wasn't mine, it was hers. Or maybe my success was a threat because it hadn't been handed to her. It's not that Cassie was cruel. She could be charming, thoughtful even, sending cards or calling for advice about boyfriends or landlords. But she lived in a different story, one where she was the overlooked artist, the good daughter who was just unlucky. My parents fed that story like gospel. She's had a hard time. My mom once said when Cassie came home early from Barcelona because the apartment had bad energy, "Hard time." Meanwhile, I was getting audited by the IRS for filing as self-employed instead of W-2. I handled it quietly, like always. My Aunt Denise, my mom's sister, called that week, upset I hadn't invited her to my community college graduation years ago. "You've let success go to your head," she said. I didn't tell her I hadn't invited anyone, that I didn't walk because I was working a double shift. Later, I learned she was funding my parents' lawsuit not because she believed Cassie deserved the house, but because she thought I needed to be humbled. That's what favoritism does when it's dressed as fairness. It doesn't scream or slap, it smooths things over for one child while the other learns to disappear. And when the quiet one refuses, it looks like rebellion. For years, I'd been the invisible one, the one who didn't ask for much and got even less. I remember being 17, standing in the kitchen, asking my mom if she could help with $50 for a bus pass. She sighed, said money was tight, and turned back to her phone. The next week, Cassie got a new laptop for her creative projects. I didn't get jealous. I got quieter. I worked harder, saved more, built a career in cybersecurity through late nights and endless certifications. I didn't go to private colleges or take spring breaks in Lisbon. I lived in apartments with peeling paint, ate meals from dollar stores, and taught myself to code on a secondhand laptop that crashed every hour. My parents called Cassie sensitive, artistic, full of potential. They called me practical, which was code for "you'll figure it out." And I did. I figured out how to pay my own way, how to climb without their help, how to save every penny until I could buy a house with no strings attached. But the moment I did, they saw it as a resource not for me, but for Cassie. The lawsuit wasn't just about the house. It was about control. I didn't belong to them anymore, and that terrified them. They'd built a family where Cassie was the star, and I was the stagehand, expected to stay in the shadows, to clap for her spotlight. When I stepped into my own light, they didn't celebrate, they panicked. They thought they could pull me back, that their moral obligation talk would guilt me into compliance. But I wasn't that quiet daughter anymore. I'd been preparing for this, even if I didn't know it, Over the years, I'd kept records not out of spite, but survival. Emails from college, asking for help with tuition, books, groceries. Always met with, "We're focusing on Cassie." Bank statements showing every deposit I'd made on my own. Receipts from my first jobs, my first car, my first apartment. I didn't know why I saved them, but they were there. A quiet archive of my independence. And now, they were my armor. The first hearing was 2 months after I got the papers. I arrived early. No lawyer, just a Navy suit I'd worn to job interviews and a folder packed with every document I'd spent weeks preparing: bank statements, pay stubs, the mortgage agreement, closing disclosures, the email where I wired the down payment. When my parents walked in, I barely recognized them. They weren't alone. Cassie clung to my mom's arm, and behind them was Aunt Denise. Hair curled, eyes sharp. They all wore matching white t-shirts with bold black letters, "Family comes first." I didn't react, just faced forward and waited. The courtroom was cold, fluorescent, nearly empty except for the judge, clerk, court reporter, and a few strangers on the benches. The bailiff called our case. We stood. Their lawyer, a tired-looking man, read their claim. The Kellers contend that Aubrey would not be in her current financial position without their emotional, physical, and financial investment. In light of Cassie's financial hardship, Aubrey should transfer the home to Cassie while servicing the mortgage for 2 years. The judge looked at me. "Do you have a response?" "Miss Keller." I stood, my voice steady. "Your Honor, I am the sole mortgage holder, but I paid every dollar myself. There is no cosigner, no loans from my parents, no legal obligation. I handed over my records." Silence stretched, and then the circus began. Cassie stepped forward, tears in her eyes, and tried to hug me. "I forgive you," she whispered, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I forgive you for pushing this so far." I stepped back. She stumbled. My mom gasped like I'd struck her. Aunt Denise muttered, "Disgraceful little thing." The judge banged her gavel. "Order, please." Their lawyer presented photo albums from childhood vacations I barely remembered. A $12.99 Happy Meal receipt from 2003 as evidence of investment. A screenshot of a text I'd sent, "Love you all," labeled "Proof of Emotional Connection." Cassie pitched an artist's retreat to turn my house into a healing space for creatives. The judge asked, "Have you earned income from this work?" Cassie hesitated, smiled. "I'm a digital creator. I'm building my brand. These things take time." "What is your current income?" the judge pressed. Cassie looked at my mom, who answered, "She's in a transitional phase." Then the judge turned to me. "Miss Keller, is there anything else you'd like to submit?" I nodded, handing over a small folder of emails from college, asking for help, always denied because we're focusing on Cassie. The judge read in silence, then leaned back, her eyes scanning the room like she saw the truth they'd tried to bury. 5 days later, the ruling came. Case dismissed. No legal merit. No drama. Just a quiet line on paper that said what I'd known all along: you can't sue your child for walking away. But the silence didn't last. The next day, my security cameras caught Cassie standing near my car in the driveway, nervous, still, then leaving. 10 minutes later, Aunt Denise appeared with a can of spray paint, pausing when the motion light flicked on, then walking away. I filed a police report. The next morning, Cassie launched a GoFundMe. Help me rebuild my future after my sister stole my home. She used the same Pinterest kitchen photo, claimed I'd manipulated the system, abandoned family values. My mom posted in local Facebook groups, calling me ungrateful, saying I'd torn the family apart. Then came the text, due to recent events. "Aubrey will not be welcome at Thanksgiving until she makes things right." I didn't respond. I ordered Chinese takeout and watched a documentary about shipwrecks. The group chat unraveled days later. My cousin Rachel spoke first. "You paid for Cassie's $200K education while I worked night shifts for community college. Now you want Aubrey's house." Another cousin chimed in. Remember when I asked for 2 hanons for textbooks, and you said money was tight, but bought Cassie a MacBook the same week? The chat exploded. Quiet family members remembered what had been taken from them. Even Grandpa Raymond, my dad's father, spoke up. You two are a disgrace. She succeeded in spite of you. Not because of you. That sentence hit harder than the court ruling. It was the first time someone in this family said it out loud. 6 months later. I haven't spoken to my parents. They text sometimes. My mom writes, "We're struggling financially. When will you come home? Your sister can't find stable housing. She's hurting." Aubrey, my dad sent one cold email. "When will you forgive us? Family should stick together." I don't reply or block them. I let the words arrive and go nowhere. Cassie works part-time at Starbucks, posting Instagram stories about rude customers and toxic family dynamics. Her GoFundMe was shut down for violating guidelines. Aunt Denise got a formal warning at work for using her company email to harass me. The house is quiet now, but safe. A German Shepherd mix. Luna sleeps at my feet. I adopted her 2 months ago. She's got a floppy ear and a scar near her paw. Like she's been through something too. We get along fine. Grandpa Raymond visits Sundays, bringing groceries and tools for my garage. He'd tried to see me for years, but my parents always had excuses: too busy, too tired. Now we eat simple food, talk about weather, hinges, things that don't require performance. Last week, he showed me a photo from my community college graduation. I hadn't invited anyone, but there he was, in the back, hands in his pockets, watching from behind the fence. "I never missed you," he said. "I just wasn't allowed close." Then he looked at me and added, "I'm proud of you, Aubrey. You didn't let them take what wasn't theirs." I didn't cry, just nodded, poured him more coffee, and sat as the sun sank over the backyard. Sometimes, I want to explain, to send one long message laying out every unpaid favor, every quiet hurt, every time I didn't scream. But then Luna curls up by the door. The light fades soft across the floorboards, and I remember I don't owe anyone an explanation for surviving well. The deed stays in a drawer by the window. It's not just a house, it's proof I got out, stayed out, and didn't come back for their love. I came back so they'd have to stop lying. If this story hit you, if it made you think about the times you've been overlooked or fought for what's yours, smash that like button. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next story. Drop a comment below. Tell me about a time you stood your ground or broke free from someone else's expectations. Let's start a conversation. Your voice matters, and I'm listening.